What's up, everybody? I'm back with a knee-jerk reaction review of Christina Ricci's new movie, Monstrous. Now, this is one of 3 reviews I'm doing. All of these are pretty poorly received movies. And this one I thought was going to be received at least fairly. I was surprised to see it only had an IMDb score of like a 4.6. And I was immediately like, I think for once looking at the review, usually you look at a review and it kind of pins you to the ground. As I've said in other videos, it doesn't do that to me, but there's some people that have this like subconscious thing where they can't decide for themselves. So like everybody hates it and they go in with like, yeah, this does suck. Yep, it sucks. I knew it did. Everybody said it did. I don't really have that built into me. But I'll say that this one I think is one of those where it's a rare occasion opportunity where it can go the other way. Like you can go into this like 4.6 on IMDb. This has got to suck, and then you'll be like, oh, this is actually somewhat carefully crafted. Now, it's not perfect by any means. There's moments where I'm just like, where's this story going? Like, it's not building from scene to scene very well. But there is some level of careful connectivity, I'll say, amongst the son and the mom. The mom being Christina Ricci. They really, like, there's some type of compassion and work done behind the camera where it's not like the other movies I just talked about where it just felt like, yeah, it's going nowhere and they don't really know what they're doing. This movie at times felt like, where is this going? But they do know what they're doing, I think. Like, there is a level of that where it does feel pretty professional. It's like a mixed bag in that regard. Sometimes you're like, oh well, yeah. I think it does win you over if you're into slow burns enough to stick along. Of course, you want to know about the monster. The monster, I think, is well designed. But again, I feel like all these movies have been 50-50 to me on the shit I talk about. It's well designed as in, like, it looks aesthetically pleasing, I'll say objectively. But it's not my favorite design, if that makes sense. Like, when I'm looking at the monster, I was like, oh, man, I kind of want something different. But it is well done. You know what I mean? Like, if I was somebody, for example, like, I fucking hate pizza. But objectively, I gotta say, that is a well-made food because people love it. It's that kind of thing. So, I could see people enjoying the monster in this. Wasn't really my flavor, but still well enough made to where I'm not rolling my eyes like, what the fuck is that? I just expected and wanted something a little different, I guess you could say. As I was kind of touching on with the mother and son relationship, it's done very well. That is easily the biggest compliment I give this movie. I believe the mother and son duo. I believe how much they care for each other. Like, even the son, he has some temper tantrums in here. Seems very hard to get along with. But you're sitting there, like, at the end of the day, you can tell he really does love his mom. And then Christina Ricci is the mom, dude. There was a couple occasions where I'm like, maybe, is she right for this? But by the end of it, how I felt when the cherry was put on top, I was like, man, I think Christina Ricci just killed that. You know, even if there was a couple sways here, the overall feel was kind of like she was perfect for the role. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those. It wasn't a flawless performance, but her highs in the movie definitely outweigh her couple lows that were not even lows, really. They just were kind of like, you know, she was teetering towards that way, and you were like, yeah, not bad, but like, I guess it stood out more because her performance is so important. Like, when there's these other dramatic actors that are killing it, they can hide, like, everybody I think has moments in the movie like, oh, that dialogue right there is not the best, or like that right there. But they could still get the fucking Oscar because everything surrounding them is so fucking good, it distracts you from that. But when you're literally watching this movie, and which is why I watched the movie, I'm a huge Christina Ricci fan, and I'm like on her bandwagon even more because I love Yellow Jackets. Shout out to Misty. Woo. But I was so fixated on her, and I needed to be. You know, I didn't have the movie around it that was really pulling me in to the degree I needed it to. So it was easier for me to notice like little bumps in the road. Not that they were big bumps, but I did see a couple bumps. But overall, as I said, she turned out a great performance. I'm proud of her. I wish I could have said that about Zac Efron. I'm proud of her. Yeah, you'll see that in the Firestarter review. But she was great. It's weird, man, because like when I left this movie, I'm gonna be honest with you, I was sitting there like, I mean, it was kind of average, But unlike the other movies I just watched, this one stayed on my brain. Like I couldn't stop thinking about it. And whereas like I was mixed on Ricci at first, by the end of it, as I said, she was great, and I couldn't get her performance out of my mind. Like she's such a unique woman. There's something about her acting that's so unique, and her vulnerability, like that she can portray, and it feels so natural. That doesn't even feel like acting. It feels like it's just natural to her as a person. And even though you're supposed to act, when you can somehow pull yourself into the role too, and I don't even know if that's how she is in real life, but that's how I picture her, so I guess it works for me. But it feels more personal to you. Like you feel like you know her. And I know that's a dangerous thing because that's how these people like Joffrey on Game of Thrones, if for those of you that don't know, is like some evil motherfucker, and then in real life he gets like death threats. You got to be careful with that fine line. But when an actor can kind of put their own thing in a movie, even if it isn't their own thing, but that's how you imagine them off the screen, it can feel more personal to you. And I think Christina Ricci somehow achieved that for me. So that's going to be a big personal thing for me. Don't know if it will be for other people. But really, she's the whole reason why you should watch this movie. And the son, yes, as I said, very good, very good. And their relationship. And as I said, if you don't like slow burns, stay away. And if you're not in for like some lovey-dovey, like, powerful, to some degree, dramatic type of horror, it's not really overly scary horror, then you should probably stay away from this. I can definitely see why a lot of people didn't like it. I ended up really, really enjoying it. So I've raised my score. I didn't say my score on the other ones, but I'm going to give this a 6.8 out of 10. Anything 6 or above is good to me. This almost got into really good territory at a 7 out of 10. But yeah, and the twist at the end, man, as a parent, I'll just say it gets a little gut-wrenching. It does. And I think that ending, the way they threw it together, it made so many of the movies, like even shortcomings, where it kind of felt like we were rushed into their storyline rather than kind of like, carefully guided. Like we were just tossed into there and we're like, oh my God, like what's going on? And like, this is okay, it's just them two. Like, where's the dad? Like, it felt like it was too rushed. But after that twist, it made that make sense even more. So it's kind of powerful then. I almost will give it that. So I think you can enjoy it, but again, it's another know who you are. Monstrous, people. Peace.